Step back in time and rediscover the humble yet heartwarming recipes that sustained communities during the Great Depression. These church-inspired dishes were born from necessity but remain delicious today. Let's explore these timeless meals together. During the Great Depression, families stretched pantry staples to their limits. This peanut butter bread, often shared at church gatherings, required no eggs or butter, just simple ingredients like flour, baking powder, milk, and peanut butter. Sugar was a luxury, so the bread relied on peanut butter's natural sweetness. It was filling, affordable, and easy to bake, making it a staple at potlucks. Churches often prepared large batches to help struggling families, ensuring everyone had something nourishing to eat. This modest loaf provided protein and energy during tough times, offering comfort when resources were scarce. It could be eaten plain, paired with jam, or even toasted for extra flavor. For many, it became a lifesaver, proving that even the simplest ingredients could create something delicious. As rationing eased, more elaborate baked goods replaced it, but its soft, nutty flavor remains nostalgic for those who remember it. Today, it serves as a reminder of resilience, resourcefulness, and the comforting power of food in hard times. No apples? No problem. This clever pie, made with Ritz crackers, sugar, and spices, mimicked the taste and texture of apple pie without any fruit. The flaky crust and spiced filling created a surprisingly realistic dessert, fooling many into thinking it contained real apples. Born out of necessity, this recipe became popular at church suppers, where fresh produce was scarce. The combination of crushed crackers, lemon juice, and cinnamon created the tart, sweet flavor of apples, proving that creativity could triumph over limited ingredients. Despite being an imitation, many families found comfort in its familiar taste. It was a prime example of resourceful cooking that helped communities survive tough times, bringing a bit of joy to those struggling to afford fresh fruit. As fresh apples became more available, this pie faded from kitchens, replaced by traditional apple pie. However, it remains a nostalgic treat for those who grew up with it, a reminder of resilience and ingenuity in the face of hardship. Named after President Herbert Hoover, this dish became a staple at church soup kitchens during the Great Depression. It combined macaroni, canned tomatoes, sliced hot dogs, and vegetables into a hearty one-pot meal that could feed a crowd with minimal ingredients. Churches played a crucial role in feeding struggling families, and Hoover stew became a frequent offering at community suppers. It was simple to make, required inexpensive ingredients, and could be adjusted based on whatever was available. Some variations included beans, corn, or even a sprinkle of cheese when supplies allowed. Despite its humble ingredients, Hoover stew was packed with flavor and provided much-needed sustenance. Families appreciated its affordability and how it made limited supplies stretch further. For many, it was a lifesaver in difficult times. As the economy improved, more refined dishes replaced it. But for those who grew up eating Hoover stew, its comforting taste remains a nostalgic reminder of resilience and resourcefulness during tough times. Water pie sounds strange, but it was a miracle of Great Depression baking. Using just water, sugar, butter, and flour, it transformed simple ingredients into a custard-like filling within a flaky crust. With eggs and milk scarce, this pie provided a way to enjoy dessert without costly ingredients. Church ladies often made water pie for potlucks, where sweet treats were hard to come by. Its ability to create a rich, creamy texture from almost nothing was a blessing during tough times. Families relied on such recipes to bring comfort and a sense of normalcy. Despite its odd name, water pie became a cherished dish. The buttery, sweet filling provided a taste of indulgence when resources were stretched thin. For many, it was a reminder that even the simplest ingredients could create something special. As more baking ingredients became available, richer pies took over. But water pie remains a testament to the resilience and creativity of Depression-era cooks. Now, let's look at a unique way families stretched their meat supply. Ground beef was expensive during the Great Depression, so families stretched it by mixing in breadcrumbs, onions, and eggs to create hearty steaks smothered in rich gravy. This budget-friendly meal provided the flavor and satisfaction of steak without the high cost. Churches often served this dish at community dinners, ensuring that everyone received a portion of protein. The combination of simple ingredients and savory gravy made it a filling and comforting meal, perfect for feeding large families. Some variations included oats or mashed potatoes as fillers to make the meat stretch even further. Despite its humble origins, poor man's hamburger steak became a household favorite. The rich, savory flavors and affordability made it a go-to meal for struggling families. As the economy improved and real steaks became more accessible, this dish faded into obscurity. However, its taste, practicality, and nostalgia still make it a worthwhile recipe to revisit today, especially for those who appreciate budget-friendly comfort food. Would you bring back poor man's hamburger steak? Sometimes, budget-friendly meals are the tastiest. When fresh fruit was scarce, vinegar pie became a clever substitute for lemon pie. A simple mixture of vinegar, sugar, butter, and eggs created a tangy, custard-like filling that mimicked the brightness of citrus without requiring expensive ingredients. Church kitchens often served this dessert at community gatherings, proving that even the most basic pantry staples could create bold, satisfying flavors. The acidity of vinegar balanced the sweetness of the sugar, resulting in a surprisingly rich and indulgent treat. Some variations included a dash of cinnamon or nutmeg for extra warmth. Its sweet-tart balance made it a Depression-era favorite. Families appreciated how a few simple ingredients could transform into a special dessert, bringing comfort and joy during difficult times. As fresh lemons became more accessible, vinegar pie faded from kitchens. However, those who grew up with it still recall its unique taste and creamy texture, a reminder of resilience and ingenuity in baking. With yeast in short supply during the Great Depression, this quick bread became a household staple. Made with baking powder, flour, milk, and a little fat, it provided a simple yet hearty alternative to traditional yeast bread. Without the need for rising time, it could be mixed and baked quickly, making it a lifesaver for families in need of a fast, filling meal. Churches often baked this bread in large quantities for community meals, ensuring that struggling families had something nourishing to eat. It was versatile, served alongside soups and stews, or spread with butter and jam for a simple yet satisfying meal. Despite its plain ingredients, this bread was deeply appreciated during difficult times. Once yeast became widely available again, fluffier loaves took its place, but the practicality of this quick bread remains relevant today. Whether for nostalgia or convenience, it's a great recipe to keep in mind for any kitchen emergency. Nothing went to waste during the Great Depression, not even potato peels. Boiled with water, onions, and a bit of seasoning, potato peel soup was an economical way to create a warm, nutritious meal from scraps that would have otherwise been discarded. Church kitchens frequently served this soup, using donated peels and vegetables to ensure that struggling families had something hot and filling to eat. Surprisingly nourishing, the peels provided essential vitamins and minerals, making this humble dish more nutritious than it appeared. While it wasn't fancy, it kept hunger at bay. Families would add whatever they had, carrots, celery, or even a splash of milk to make it heartier. Some even thickened it with flour to create a more substantial meal. As food became more plentiful, potato peel soup disappeared from menus, replaced by richer soups. Yet it remains a testament to resourceful cooking and making the most of what's available. Let's move on to a dessert that was as fun as it was resourceful. This cake lived up to its name. No eggs, milk, or butter. Yet it was still moist, rich, and delicious. Instead of traditional ingredients, vinegar and baking soda worked as leavening agents, creating a surprisingly light and fluffy texture. Church bake sales and potlucks often featured crazy cake because it was budget-friendly and easy to prepare. It required only basic pantry staples, making it accessible to families who couldn't afford costly baking ingredients. Despite the hardship of the era, this recipe proved that a sweet treat was still possible. Its deep chocolate flavor made it a Depression-era favorite. Some enjoyed it plain, while others topped it with a simple frosting or dusting of powdered sugar. As traditional baking ingredients became available again, crazy cake became less common. However, it still holds a special place in nostalgic kitchens, reminding us of the resilience and creativity of Depression-era cooks. A simple mixture of cornmeal, water, and salt, this dish was a staple for breakfast or dinner during the Great Depression. Boiled into a thick porridge, it could be eaten hot with butter or chilled, sliced, and fried into crispy cakes for a heartier meal. Churches often served cornmeal mush at community breakfasts, as it was cheap, filling, and easy to prepare in large batches. It provided much-needed nourishment for struggling families, proving that even the simplest ingredients could create a satisfying dish. Despite its plainness, Cornmeal mush was surprisingly versatile. Some families sweetened it with honey or molasses, while others topped it with gravy, turning it into a savory meal. It was a budget-friendly comfort food that kept many people fed. As more breakfast options became available, cornmeal mush faded from popularity. However, it remains a nostalgic and humble dish for those who remember its warmth and simplicity. Would you bring back cornmeal mush? Sometimes the simplest foods are the most satisfying. During the Great Depression, bologna was one of the cheapest meats available, and families found creative ways to turn it into filling meals. This hearty casserole combined sliced or diced bologna with potatoes, cheese, and breadcrumbs, creating a dish that was both affordable and satisfying. It was a practical way to stretch ingredients while still providing a comforting home-cooked meal. Churches frequently served bologna casserole at potlucks and community dinners. It was easy to prepare in large batches, making it an ideal dish for feeding struggling families. The creamy, cheesy potatoes paired with the salty, smoky bologna resulted in a surprisingly flavorful meal that felt hearty, despite its simple ingredients. For many, this dish became a nostalgic symbol of resilience. Families appreciated how it stretched their food supply while still feeling indulgent. As the economy improved and more meat options became available, bologna casseroles faded from dinner tables. However, its practicality and comforting taste continue to live on in some kitchens today. Also known as SOS, a nickname given by soldiers, this dish consisted of dried beef in a creamy white sauce, served over toast. It was a simple, budget-friendly meal that provided warmth and nourishment when fresh meat was scarce. Church kitchens and soup lines often made this dish because it was affordable, easy to prepare, and used shelf-stable dried beef. It was a reliable option for feeding large groups, ensuring that struggling families and individuals had a hearty meal during difficult times. Despite its simplicity, chipped beef on toast was surprisingly satisfying. The creamy sauce added richness to the salty, thinly sliced beef, creating a dish that was both flavorful and filling. Some versions incorporated black pepper or a touch of Worcestershire sauce for extra depth. As more food options became available, chipped beef on toast became less common. However, it remains a nostalgic favorite for those who grew up eating it, reminding them of its comforting taste and practicality. Now, let's move on to a creative way. Families made desserts without expensive ingredients. Since eggs and butter were expensive during the Great Depression, home bakers found a surprising substitute: mayonnaise. Made from eggs and oil, mayonnaise provided the necessary fats and moisture to create a rich chocolate cake without costly ingredients. Church bake sales and potlucks often featured this unusual dessert. It was an easy and economical way to make a decadent treat when traditional baking staples were out of reach. The simplicity of the recipe made it accessible to families looking for a way to enjoy sweets during difficult times. Despite its unusual addition, mayonnaise made the cake incredibly soft and flavorful. The result was a moist, rich chocolate cake that quickly became a Depression-era favorite. Many were skeptical at first, but the taste won them over. As baking ingredients became more accessible, traditional cake recipes regained popularity. However, many still swear by the uniquely moist texture of mayonnaise cake, keeping this Depression-era invention alive in nostalgic kitchens today. Stale bread wasn't wasted during the Great Depression. It was turned into a delicious custard-like dessert. Bread pudding combined old bread, milk, eggs, sugar, and spices into a warm, comforting dish that made the most of every ingredient. It was a frugal yet indulgent way to create a sweet treat when food was scarce. Church kitchens frequently prepared bread pudding to ensure that nothing went to waste. It was easy to make in large quantities, providing families with a simple yet satisfying dessert. Many variations existed, with some adding raisins, nutmeg, or a drizzle of syrup for extra flavor. The soft, custard-soaked bread and warm cinnamon spice made it a beloved dessert. It proved that even the most basic ingredients could be transformed into something special. As more dessert options became available, bread pudding became less common. However, its nostalgic appeal and comforting taste have helped it remain a classic in many homes today. Ground beef was expensive during the Great Depression, so families stretched it with oats, breadcrumbs, or mashed potatoes to create a budget-friendly meatloaf. By adding fillers, they made a small amount of meat go further while still providing a hearty and satisfying meal. Church potlucks often featured this dish because it was an affordable way to serve a crowd. The mixture of meat and fillers, seasoned simply with salt, pepper, and onions, created a flavorful loaf that was easy to prepare and bake. Some families even topped it with a thin layer of ketchup or gravy for extra taste. Despite its humble ingredients, this meatloaf was surprisingly moist and delicious. The fillers not only extended the meat, but also helped retain moisture, ensuring that each bite was tender and satisfying. As times improved, meatloaf recipes became richer and more meat-heavy. However, the Depression-era version remains a nostalgic favorite, proving that great meals don't have to be expensive. Would you try this budget-friendly meatloaf? It's a reminder that great meals don't have to be expensive. During the Great Depression, beef was expensive, so families turned to cheaper cuts of pork or even fried bologna to mimic chicken fried steak. By breading and frying these alternatives, they recreated the crispy, golden texture of the beloved dish without the high cost of real steak. Church kitchens often served this dish at community dinners, as it was an affordable way to provide a hearty, satisfying meal. The breading added flavor and crunch, while the frying process gave it a rich, comforting taste. Some families even smothered it in gravy to make it even more indulgent. Despite being a substitute, this dish delivered the same satisfying bite as traditional chicken fried steak. It became a go-to comfort food for those who craved a hearty meal on a tight budget. As beef became more accessible, this mock version faded from dinner tables. However, for those who grew up eating it, the crispy, flavorful goodness remains a nostalgic reminder of resourceful cooking. Up next, let's explore another creative way families stretched their food supply. This simple dish consisted of toasted bread, soaked in warm milk, often with a little butter, sugar, or cinnamon for extra flavor. It was a Depression-era staple, providing warmth and nourishment when more elaborate breakfasts were out of reach. Churches often served milk toast at breakfast gatherings, as it was inexpensive, easy to prepare, and gentle on the stomach. For struggling families, it was a way to make a comforting meal out of basic ingredients. Some added a pinch of salt for a savory version, while others sweetened it with honey or a sprinkle of nutmeg. Despite its simplicity, milk toast was filling and satisfying. Many children grew up eating it, appreciating its soft texture and mild taste. It was especially favored for the sick or elderly, as it was easy to digest. As food options expanded, milk toast became a forgotten dish. However, it remains a nostalgic comfort food for those who remember its simple warmth and soothing quality. Peanuts were an affordable protein source during the Great Depression, and peanut soup became a clever way to create a creamy, nourishing dish without expensive meat. Made by simmering peanut butter with water or milk, onions, and a touch of seasoning, it transformed simple ingredients into a surprisingly rich and satisfying meal. Churches often made peanut soup in large pots, serving it to families in need of a warm, protein-rich dish. The peanut butter provided a nutty, comforting flavor while adding much-needed calories and nutrients. Some versions included flour or cornstarch to thicken the soup, while others added a bit of sugar for a slightly sweet twist. Despite its unusual nature, peanut soup was well loved for its creamy texture and deep roasted peanut flavor. It proved that simple, shelf-stable ingredients could create something hearty and delicious. As meat became more affordable, peanut soup faded from most menus. However, it remains a unique Depression-era dish that still holds nostalgic appeal today. With fresh ingredients scarce during the Great Depression, families got creative with what they had. One surprising combination, grape jelly and canned tomato sauce, became a beloved sweet-savory glaze for meatballs. This unexpected pairing created a rich, tangy sauce that made even the simplest ground meat feel indulgent. Church potlucks and community dinners often featured these meatballs. They were an affordable way to stretch a little bit of meat, and the flavorful sauce helped make the dish feel special. Some variations used chili sauce or mustard for extra depth, while others served the meatballs over rice, bread, or pasta to make the meal go further. Despite its unusual ingredients, the mix of tangy tomato sauce and sweet grape jelly gave these meatballs a unique, comforting taste. As times improved, other sauces became more common. But this Depression-era dish remains a nostalgic favorite at some gatherings, proving that even the most unlikely combinations can create something delicious. Up next, let's look at another budget-friendly way families made their meals stretch. Instead of expensive meat, families during the Great Depression found a clever alternative, boiling and marinating whole carrots to mimic the taste and texture of hot dogs. Once cooked, they were placed in buns and topped with mustard, relish, or onions, creating a surprisingly convincing substitute. Church picnics and community meals sometimes featured this budget-friendly dish. Carrots were cheap, nutritious, and easy to prepare in large quantities, making them a practical choice for feeding many people. By simmering them in a smoky marinade, families could recreate the savory flavor of a traditional hot dog without the cost of meat. Surprisingly, the firm texture and seasoning made carrot hot dogs a satisfying alternative. They became a creative way to enjoy a familiar meal while sticking to a tight budget. As meat became more affordable, carrot hot dogs faded from dinner tables. However, plant-based eaters have since revived the idea, proving that this Depression-era dish still has a place in modern kitchens. Would you try this unexpected meat substitute? Cabbage was cheap, filling, and widely available, making it a Great Depression staple. Families found simple yet delicious ways to prepare it, often sautéing it with onions and butter before tossing it with egg noodles for a hearty, budget-friendly meal. Despite its simplicity, this dish provided warmth and nourishment during difficult times. Church kitchens frequently made cabbage and noodles for large gatherings, as it was easy to prepare in bulk. The combination of tender, buttery cabbage and soft noodles created a satisfying meal that was both comforting and affordable. Some families added black pepper or a dash of vinegar for extra flavor, while others sprinkled in bacon bits when available. Though basic, this dish became a beloved comfort food, proving that even the simplest ingredients could create something special. As more protein options became accessible, cabbage and noodles faded from everyday menus, but it remains a nostalgic favorite for those who grew up eating it. This Depression-era dessert used canned tomato soup to create a moist, spiced cake reminiscent of carrot or spice cake. With eggs and butter in short supply, this unconventional ingredient helped keep the cake soft, while adding a subtle tang that enhanced the flavors. Church bake sales and community meals often featured this surprising treat. The acidity of the soup acted as a natural tenderizer, making the cake incredibly moist. Despite its odd addition, the cake's rich blend of cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves masked any tomato flavor, creating a deliciously spiced dessert. Some versions even included raisins or nuts for extra texture. It was a frugal yet indulgent way to enjoy a homemade dessert without costly dairy products. As traditional baking ingredients became more accessible, tomato soup cake faded from kitchens. However, some nostalgic bakers still swear by its unique taste and wonderfully moist texture, keeping this Depression-era recipe alive. Beans were cheap, filling, and packed with protein, making them a Great Depression staple. Families slow-cooked them with molasses, onions, and a little bacon or salt pork when available, creating a rich, hearty dish that could feed many with minimal ingredients. Church suppers and community meals frequently included baked beans, as they were easy to prepare in large batches. The long cooking process allowed simple ingredients to develop deep, smoky flavors, turning an affordable meal into something truly satisfying. Some families added mustard or brown sugar for extra flavor, while others paired the beans with cornbread or simple rolls to make the meal even more filling. Despite being a humble dish, baked beans provided essential nutrients and comfort during hard times. As more food options emerged, homemade baked beans became less common, replaced by canned versions for convenience. However, those who grew up with the slow-cooked variety still appreciate its nostalgic, rich taste and simple goodness. Now, let's explore a dish that transformed breakfast into an affordable treat. Leftover cornmeal mush wasn't wasted during the Great Depression. It was sliced, fried, and transformed into crispy golden cakes, often served with syrup, butter, or even a sprinkle of sugar. This simple yet satisfying dish provided a warm, hearty meal while making the most of every ingredient. Church breakfasts and community meals frequently featured fried cornmeal mush. It was an easy way to stretch ingredients and ensure that families had something filling to start their day. The frying process gave the mush a crisp exterior while keeping the inside soft and creamy, making it a delicious alternative to pancakes. Some versions included a dash of salt and pepper for a savory twist, while others sweetened it for a comforting treat. As breakfast options expanded, fried mush became less common. However, for those who grew up with it, the dish remains a nostalgic favorite, proving that even the simplest meals can leave a lasting impression. Rice was an affordable staple during the Great Depression, and families found creative ways to turn it into a sweet, creamy dessert. By simmering rice with milk, sugar, and a little cinnamon, they created a warm and comforting dish that felt indulgent despite its simple ingredients. Church kitchens frequently made rice pudding for community meals, as it was inexpensive, easy to prepare in large batches, and provided a satisfying treat for struggling families. Some versions included a handful of raisins, or a sprinkle of nutmeg for extra flavor, while others drizzled honey on top for a bit of added sweetness. Despite its simplicity, rice pudding became a beloved dessert. Its creamy texture and warm cinnamon-spiced flavor made it a favorite for children and adults alike. As more elaborate desserts became available, rice pudding faded in popularity. But for those who grew up eating it, this humble dish remains a nostalgic and comforting reminder of resilience in hard times. Would you bring back rice pudding? Sometimes the simplest desserts are the most satisfying.
I hope you enjoyed this journey through Depression-era church recipes. Which one surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe for more nostalgic food stories. Until next time.